All right, everybody, we're back with podcast here at Southwest High School. Today, joining me are three of my favorite people on the planet and great colleagues. I have Mrs. Sarah Weeks from Arlington Heights, Mr. Troy Langston from Pascal High School, and Mr. Rodrigo Durbin, the principal at South Hills. And obviously, these are three high schools right around Southwest High School. And guys, welcome to the podcast today, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to join me. We're going to kick it off real quick with kind of what have you experienced at your schools? What kind of strengths have you seen coming back from the pandemic, and what areas of concern do you have that have kind of happened at your high schools since we've come back?
Well, while they were gone, lots of construction went on at school. So students don't know where things are, didn't know where things are. They keep moving throughout the year. So that's been kind of interesting. So students not used to being home, thinking that school is home. And so, one of the goals this year was to try to make it home. And classes feel good about that. So our teachers have done a great job with that.
Do you have kids dressing like they're at home still?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pajamas.
Right, that's been a little bit of a concern here, is getting them out of their at-home learning environment and back into a traditional school. And not that that's, critical in the learning, but just the mindset shift, of moving to it a little bit.
The lighting in rooms.
The lighting in rooms, the structure of a classroom, as opposed to the non-structure that was at their house. They wanted to use a restroom, they didn't have to ask. They wanted to go and grab a snack, they didn't have to ask. They just getting kids back into that routine, as well as having them understand that some of the freedoms that they had while learning at home, they do not have here when we're back in school.
How about have they struggled with their attendance, just being able to, have you guys had some struggles with your attendance and getting them back into school this year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the hardest parts is trying to get back into the mindset of coming to school every day and being active, being engaged in the classroom, because one of the biggest strengths that I saw coming out of the pandemic was technology savvy. Kids became a lot more technology savvy. We're pushing virtual. I mean, you can walk the campus now and a lot of kids are on their laptop doing their work. So that's a positive. The drawback would be the social interactions, coming to school every day, not missing a beat, because it's very important to be in class. And kids are sometimes in that mindset that I'll just make it up, or I'm online, I'm doing my work online, and I'm passing my classes. Why do I have to be in class if I'm doing everything online? I'm passing my class. I don't understand the 90% rule if I know this stuff. So I think that's a battle we're having at high school.
Just for one of the battles we have here is just kids, kind of that internal time clock of structure, like you were talking, Sarah, of 90 minutes is like forever when you've been at home, able to get up, go to the restroom, do what you needed to do. So just really trying to develop ways to keep kids engaged throughout the whole lesson has been a challenge.
It's always been a challenge, though, and the cell phone, it's the double-edged sword of technology, in that it's such a great tool to use, but how do we rein it in a classroom setting specifically, so that it's used for good and not for TikTok?
Well, right. I mean, it's the cell phone, it's such a competing factor, right? And even our Chromebooks allow kids to get to Instagram and other competing things. So teachers really have to be mindful of what that experience looks like. What other challenges have you guys faced in regards to staffing? Have you had issues at your campus with vacancies or teachers being out, and how's that affected, student and staff morale?
At the height of this winter, when we were a lot of subs short, I believe one day we were 23 substitutes short. Because we had so many people out with COVID, so many people who were just out for a number of reasons, and then we have all of the vacancies that we still have at our campus.
So do all of you still have a teacher vacancy, like at least one? You have 4?
I have 4 as well.
Yeah, I have 1, and I have two teachers that I hired that are waiting for their certification in order to get cleared into those vacancies. They're working right now as long-term subs, but they're in there right now. They're just waiting for their certifications to clear.
So that's a pretty common problem. Like, I think my staff and I think all of our staffs are like, why are there so many vacancies? But, I mean, we're 4 high-performing high schools here in Fort Worth, and all of us have vacancies, and I think that's a trend you're going to see across.
Well, vacancies not only in teachers, but in support staff. Custodial staff is really impacting our campuses. Where at high schools, we're running from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night. Our cafeteria is used 20, I feel like it's 24/7, so it's hard for them to get in there and clean. And restrooms being cleaned, gyms being used. It's just nonstop cleaning, restrooms and trash. And then also, I found out that I had an additional instructional coach position on my campus, but I'm not able to hire that position because they don't want to pull nobody from the classrooms or teachers. So, they're giving us resources, but then there's no people out there to hire for those resources.
So I think for that, how have you guys covered when you've had so many people out? Have you?
One of the pieces that we're thankful for is the fact that the district paid attention to that, and they are sending. I have 3 people from downtown today, and we're appreciative. And I talked to one of them today, and he said they're on call 3 days a week.
Yeah, I think that's been very helpful, and I think all of us have had to lean on support staff to take on additional roles and cover classes to make sure students are kept at the forefront. So. I think the challenges have been pretty similar across our campuses and coming back. And I think that's reassuring for teachers to hear that, right now in education, it's tough, no doubt. It's going to be tough until we're able to get people hired. And I think until Fort Worth is trying to match beginning salaries up higher, as we all know, and that's a great thing. But we want to make sure that our experienced teachers and everyone feels compensated as we move throughout. So, I know they're working towards some things there. I kind of want to shift conversation a little bit just to talk about with my staff. And so, they hear what I look for when I come in, and I say, hey, this is what I'm looking for when I come into a classroom. What are some of the key things that you look for when you go in to classrooms and say, hey, this is what I want to see?
I think student engagement. Students actively engaging in the content that is being presented, either in a project or in a discussion, or it can look many different ways, but ensuring that students are actively engaging in that content, whatever that looks like for the teacher and their plan for the day.
Yeah, I love to see students having academic talk, whether that be in a large group setting with the whole class or small groups. Walk around and you hear them talking to each other about content, about skills, et cetera, or building skills. They're working really hard on building skills, and then the teacher stops and asks a question out of the blue, and bam, it's there. They're obviously engaged by the responses that they give, or that the teacher has structure where they all can respond one way or the other. And I think we learned last year that students at home can respond as well if you put the right apps in front of them. So some teachers are still using that, and others have gone to that formative assessment kind of stuff right there in the room. So students engaged is great. They don't remember their phones are there if they're engaged with their classmates in an academic setting or a performance setting. They don't have to worry about that phone because their mind is on something else, and I'd love to see that.
Yeah, one thing I look at is what kind of relationship that teacher has with that student. The positive relationship, they talking to the student. Is the student enjoying the class, and is the teacher enjoying being there with the students? Is something that I look at. I always tell teachers, you got to make education fun. Nobody said learning can be fun. Nobody said learning had to be boring. So go have fun, teaching students, and they will respond because these are young adults we're talking about. And monitoring the phones is just part of life. We try to, I discourage them picking up phones by, or taking phones away from kids. And let's just teach kids how to monitor the phones because, we all go to the meetings, and we have to monitor our phones sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with in a classroom having a break built in. You just work 20 minutes, 25, and you have a 5-minute break to get on your phone, check your email, check your text, whatever, and then we move forward. And then you see a lot of response from students. Majority of students are going to respect that time, respect that teacher.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So many teachers, if they could just move past compliance-based classrooms, right? Like, I'm the teacher, I'm in charge, you do what I say, and move into a student-led, authentic experience. And that's something we've been talking about is like, I don't really care what the activity is. But if the kids don't have a chance to lead at some part during the activity, they're just not engaged. And then their phones become an issue or their behavior becomes an issue. And ultimately, content gets lost because kids are paying attention 1 minute, but then the next minute, compliance is in and out based on all the other distractions.
Going back to what Mr. Durbin said about relationships in the classroom, and I think that it's pretty evident that if I walk into a classroom and there's not necessarily much discourse and active learning going on, that I might look and say, what kind of, how you engage your students and how have you gotten to know your students, and do they know anything about you as far as a teacher goes? And so you don't have to be best friends, obviously, but you can definitely tell with that relationship piece if there's a good relationship, student and teacher relationship.
And some of it is like low energy, right? Like, I go in classrooms and we push back a little bit about, I can deal with a lot. Like, I can deal with mistakes, pedagogy and everything, but like, have some energy, like look like you're excited to be there. Move that. Do you prefer, I think I already know the answer based on what you guys were telling me earlier, but does noise bother you when you go into a classroom, or do you expect to see noise when you're in a classroom observing?
No, I expect noise to a degree that it's noise that's related to class. I'm not the rows and quiet. Like you said, compliant students are not engaged students. Compliance is the opposite of engagement, in my opinion. Engaged students tend to have some relationship with the teacher, maybe some banter back and forth, some fun. Oh my gosh, class can be fun. And when we're fun, we're laughing, we're enjoying ourselves. There's engagement in conversation. It's not one person and everybody else is just silent, dead, or nobody talking.
Yeah, we're going to have to, we have these new learning spaces, and we have to retrain our campus monitor. We have to retrain our APs, our teachers, that it's okay for kids to be out there talking and learning, and working, because that's what they're built for. So it's retraining people to say it's okay for kids out there in the hallway. Especially if they have a free period. I'd rather than be sitting down the hallway just hanging out than be walking out and being all over the place, especially in my library. Like, if the library's open, I want kids to be talking. I want to walk in this quietness. We're not going to yell at kids. We're not going to disrespect kids. And one of the biggest questions when I talk to the students is, hey, how's the math teacher going? Is it, how's Mr. Engel, how's he treating you? How's that class? How's it going? They treating you right? And kids get, they treat me right. That's what because I'll tell you the truth. If somebody's not treating them right, they're going to tell you the truth.
Hopefully Mr. Engel's treating them right, it's important to me. It is interesting. I tell my teachers a lot, kids work harder, and I think people in general work harder for people they like than for people that are being compliant to. Couple final questions. There's so much talk about college and career readiness. And I'm just going to be honest. I have a lot of kids here who, talk to me about more of a career opportunity and the skills. And so I talk to my teachers a lot about, we are responsible for also teaching kids some soft skills that can go into the job market or that they can be successful utilizing, whether they go to college or they go straight into a career. What are some of the soft skills that you expect to see kids learning or graduating with coming from your high schools?
I think grit is something that the students need to understand, and just the ability to communicate with other people. No matter what job they have, they've got to be able to communicate. So communication skills, hard work ethic, just understand that 50 people might want your job and you're going to want the next job. So work your way out of this job to the next one and you'll be fine.
That goes back to something I always hear Mr. Engel saying, is that you're always on an interview for your next job.
There you go.
You're always on the interview for your next job. And so perseverance and that grit and work ethic is huge. Just because you're tardy to first period every day doesn't mean your boss is going to keep you on if you're 5 minutes, 10 minutes late to work every day. And so understanding that, you're outside of school now, and so there's a different set of rules, and being persevering and making sure that they understand those rules and doing their best to represent not only themselves but also their families and whatever they're trying to accomplish in life.
Yeah, I stress to the kids and to my teachers confidence, building confidence in the kids that why not me? Why not you? Why not you going to college? Why not you taking on that job? And questioning people. Just don't take no for an answer. You question people and you ask why. In a respectful way, but ask why, what's going on. An example, we're talking about teachers and benchmarks right now, and they're going over their data and having those conferences with students. And I stress to them, talk about their confidence. Give the kid a confidence and they're going to perform for you. If they improve two questions on this last benchmark, that's confidence. Next
Something
one we're going
to
to do
celebrate.
Exactly.
Right.
So give them the confidence, and you're going to be surprised what kids can do for you.
I love that.
When they're competent and they can have something to be proud of, I want to be able to ask all my graduates, what are you proud of? Some of them come to us with tons of things to be proud of. They've great family life, great relationship with their families, they've got all kinds of things, accolades in athletics, arts, or academics. But every student should walk across that stage with something to be proud of. When they have that pride in something, even if it's something they've done, which especially if it's something they've done, but no matter what, they're going to go about their life with their head up if they're proud about something and that they remember that.
I think it's a great reflection for our teachers to ask our students, in my class, what are you proud of?
Yeah.
What have you done that makes you proud? Not necessarily me proud, but what makes you proud? And I think that they would get some interesting answers.
I just think it's important that we shift the narrative from kids seeing school as a roadblock or a stumbling point and getting in the way of their job or I want them to see school as it's a building, it's a pillar to their success, and education as and something that'll open opportunities for them. And so, it centers around that collaborative workspace and being able to get along with peers and show up on time and have the confidence to ask the right questions. But no, you're good. I see so many of our kids get lost in making poor choices, skipping, not attending, and kind of they kind of have a deficit mindset, and that's kind of what I want to end with you guys on today is the deficit mindset of or fixed mindset. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a dropout. I'm not. How are you guys instilling a growth mindset in your students and your faculty?
Great question. We actually did a mindset activity with our freshmen as part of our freshman success team this year. We want them to think of themselves as continuous learners, continuously growing. And, they don't know everything that they're going to need to know in life, and that's okay. Just remember, though, that you don't shut yourself off at an 8th grade level and decide that you're going to go and have a successful life, right? And at the same time, do they know that there's people that care enough to help them? That's part of that relationship piece that you talked about. So we're trying to build the understanding that you have a home here. This is your home. You're a Panther for life. I mean, that's actually on all of our exits.
I know I make fun of you at principal meetings for you guys yelling that Panther for Life stuff.
Fair
No,
enough,
I'm kidding.
fair
I'm kidding.
enough. No, but
No, I actually
the
do.
notion is that they're forever home, so to speak, right? Because that's a foundation, and they need to know they're getting a foundation while they're in high school. No matter what they're going to do afterwards, they need a foundation that's strong to get them through the next 50 years, 60 years, or whatever.
Yeah, I challenge our kids here a lot of times when, because some of my teachers have fixed mindsets, like, well, they come from, a broken home, or the kid doesn't seem to care. And I'm like, so do you think that kid can't grow? Well, I mean, not if he's not here. I kind of get those kind of comments. I'm like, well, how good is he at his, you always tell me he's on his phone, so he's really good at his phone, right? Well, yeah. Well, then growth mindset exists. I can prove it to you, because whatever he's practicing, he's good at. So getting teachers to come out of the fixed mindset of that is also like been challenging work.
I think you talked about the college and career. I think Fort Worth ISD has a lot of resources, and we offer a lot of opportunities. Sometimes we don't align all those resources, because I always stress about different pathways of success. And I don't know if we're heading all those pathways sometimes because of roadblocks put in, through the campus, through the district, through the state. So one of the biggest challenges that we have is aligning those resources and trying to direct the student for their successful path. Haven't gotten there yet. Still working at it, but I think.
Hey, we got welding though, man.
Yeah, we got welding.
Took us 5 years, but we got it.
We're adding welding. It's challenging.
I think
challenging
that it goes back to the vocabulary, and you said it perfectly. I haven't gotten there yet. Instead of I can't, I haven't gotten there yet. And so with that growth mindset, how do we give kids tools as far as a different vocabulary, and say no can'ts? We're not gonna say can't, but yet. We haven't gotten there yet. And so keep looking forward, as Mr. Langston was saying.
Yeah, the power of yet is actually represented in our classrooms. Our teachers were given a poster that said yet on it, so that they would remind themselves.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Love
Can't do
that.
it yet. Okay, well, let's get to it, and we'll get to it. Yet just means it's right in the time, but the time isn't going to be stagnant. It's going to keep moving, so let's move with the time and grow with the time.
And let's be clear. I want to go back to your point about 2-point gain from benchmarks. Our retester scores in all of our schools were that left something to be desired. We'll leave it at that, right? You would all agree with that, right?
Yes.
But what I want my teachers to see is not like, oh, well, this kid's a retester, and obviously, but did they grow? This is our baseline. Where are we moving from here? And even if it's 2 questions, if we don't celebrate the fact that they're growing in a positive direction, why is that kid going to continue to extend effort? Because for some of our kids, it's going to take an extended effort of 2 or 3 years to get them able to pass that test, because they have that kind of delay. So again, fixed mindset and a growth mindset, deficit mindset, however you want to look at it, I think is, I know something in just our conversations, just something that you work with your staff and students on. So some great ideas and some powerful tips. Last question kind of, to think about is, there's so many new teachers coming into the profession, whether they're first year teachers or new through alternative certification programs. And they're already, teacher burnout is already a real thing for next year, right? So if you had to give, your first year teachers, your people new to the profession, one piece of advice to keep them into the profession, what would it be?
I would never want to relive my first year of teaching. I don't believe any of us would.
Oh, I do, definitely.
I don't think
No,
any
I'm
of us
kidding.
would ever want to relive our first year of teaching. And so they don't have that perspective.
I worked for a principal that I worked every Saturday for the first 2 years, and I didn't realize other people didn't have to do that, because she just told me I had to do tutoring on Saturdays. But, as a 21-year-old kid, I just was like, well, hey, if this is how I keep my job, then, I show up. Not very wise.
Yeah. The notion that you're not going to go home your first year, that's okay. It'll get better. It will get better.
Yes.
And it will get better for all of us. People in this room, all of our teachers, even our veteran teachers, it will get better. Have we had a tough time? Yeah. World War II was 4 years of a tough time, right? The Great Depression sucked for a decade. And they got through it. You know, I'm going to say this. Our students are the next greatest generation.
Right.
You know, we talked about people that grew up and had to deal with the Great Depression, and then they took care of World War II, right? Now we have this. If we take care of our kids, they're going to be the next we're going to be so proud of them. And why would somebody not want to be part of that, right? So it's an exciting time to think about the next few years and what you're going to do with kids that have had a tough time for several years in a row. So it's a really exciting time. Is it going to be tough? Are they going to have deficits? Certainly. But they're also going to have some blank slates for you to work with, right? So I'm excited about the future.
I love that. I love that too, and I want to give Durbin a chance to speak. But one of the things I see about teacher burnout is, man, like so many teachers start over because they don't like just journal or make notes about their lesson plans of like what went well this year and what they're gonna like. You don't have to start completely over every year. Use each year to build upon, even if it's, well, I'm not doing that again. And that's a lot of what your first year is, right? Like, oh God, that was a terrible idea. But then also there's some surprise moments where you're like, oh, that went way better than I thought it was going to. People who stay in this profession, people who are successful in this profession have figured out how to make each year a growing year. Again, growth mindset, see the theme, as opposed to, man, I'm fixed, and here's another new year. Here's another new group of students. Oh, guess what? The district's making me do this now. Oh, I mean, it's quick. It's easy to find a bunch of reasons why you're not successful. But I think you have to actively be searching for those reasons. But Durbin, I'm going to give you a chance to talk about.
I think teacher burnout, especially first years, relies on us as administrators and as leaders of not burning them out, of not asking them to do, like you said, don't waste their time. Don't just have meetings just to have meetings. How are we building their master schedules? Are we giving them breaks? Are we giving them coaches, instructional coaches to go coach them up? What are we doing as leaders to provide that support so they feel successful? I think that's the biggest key for us. And allowing them to make mistakes and encouraging them that say, I want you to make mistakes, because that's how you're going to learn through the experience. Now you made the mistake, so how are you going to fix it? And let them think through that, because they're smart, they want to be successful, and they're going to fall on their face. But then you get back up and you continue to work. Don't ever let them see you cry. You're going to go cry.
I'll remember that.
And then you come back out and you're ready to go. And that's it.
Well, what I love about all of you guys is you're such genuine people, and you're such authentic leaders of your schools, and our conversations are always kid-centered, and just like what Durbin said, you're good leaders take care of their people. And, we want to take care of our teachers so that the end goal is teachers take care of our kids. I think that modeling of what we're trying to do is so that it shows up with what you're doing in the classroom with the kids. I know none of you are micromanagers. I know all of you believe in your people and instill a growth mindset for your communities. Super honored to call you all my friends. I appreciate that you came out and shared some wisdom with my staff, and look forward to continued conversations. Maybe you all come back again as we get close, and we can gloat about some of the achievements we made down the road. Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks, John.
Engel.
Appreciate it.